A warm welcome, Red Ice members. We are talking with Jim Sanders, a very interesting discussion on some of his earlier film projects. He's currently involved in the project called Gnosis, and we've been talking about some of his previous films like The Real Thing and also Seeds of Change. We're going to continue this segment to talk a little bit more about ayahuasca, shamanism, and also how he met up with his teacher, Juan Flores, and talk about the kind of work that he does and his organization. Jim mentioned his website in the end of the first segment. But if you will, Jim, tell us a little bit about how you first got in contact with Juan and what kind of work he's doing and how you guys basically have come to hook up since then, so to speak.
Okay, well, I guess the journey really. I was after making the film about coca, I actually had read Wade Davis's One River, and I was like, oh, I should make a film about another plant in the Amazon. I was intrigued by this ayahuasca, and I'd already been hearing about it in the Amazon, and so I decided to make a film that was inspired by ayahuasca, and so I was already doing that, and then one day I had a friend recommend to me Jeremy Narby's book, The Cosmic Serpent, DNA and the Origins of Knowledge, and so of course I went ahead and read that. And the book was great because I find that book is really a bridge for the kind of the rational mind to be to open up into concepts of shamanism and stuff. And
yes,
so it did that very much for me, and I've seen it do it for a lot of people. And so I actually then was set out to try to find Narby, and I finally contacted with him, and I called him, and he then I said I wanted to meet an ayahuasquero to consult for my film, and does he know someone like the real thing, and he directed me towards Juan. So that's how I found out about Juan Flores, and I went down at the beginning of this beginning of making Gnosis. It wasn't called that at the time, but and I went down to Juan's center in the Peruvian Amazon, Mayantiyacu, and met Juan for the first time. So we were there for a few weeks. And his center is it's in the Amazon, in the jungle. You have to hike in there, so it's virgin rainforest, and it's not easy to get to. And it's basically in an old volcanic bowl.
Wow.
So it's an old volcanic bowl, and there's a river that circles the center, which is actually at 90 degrees Celsius heated geothermally from the volcano.
Wow.
So it's vapor rising all the time, and
Yeah, because I saw that on some of the pictures on the website. I was wondering, my God, it looks like a hot spring right there,
Oh yeah, it's just the most magical place, and
yes.
And it, he's had the center there since just after the turn of the millennium, and it was actually Jeremy Narby that helped him originally find the funding to create it. And so yeah, there's people from all around the world that go there, and increasingly more and more, and he does everything from working, healing, everything from like things from depression to cancer to asthma, whatever, to more spiritual kind of endeavors and stuff like that. So and it's the site where it is it's the ancient site of his ancestors. So there's even carvings in the rock that are thousands of years old. So
yes,
it's been a place where the curanderos or the healers have worked for a long time.
And do you go down there often, or have you just been there a few times?
It's funny. I've only been there once.
Really?
Yeah, and I've only been there once at the beginning of the film, and I always knew I had to go back again to finish the film, and it's been quite an interesting journey. It's been 3 years now, and he's actually been up here twice since. So he's been up here more than I've been there. And it's funny because we're the only place he's ever been outside of like the South American region there. So it was quite special to have him up here, and so I've been definitely, most of my mentorship all my mentorship has been up here with him up here. And then now, as we're learning, there's ways to learn beyond distance. So that's kind of a fascinating element to it now. So
tell us a little bit more about that. What do you mean?
Well, I mean, when you work with ayahuasca and these plants, it's very much about your dreams in the dream world. And so I often have dreams. With Juan visits me in my dreams often and teaches me in my dreams. So that's been something that's kind of opened up in the last year. That's quite exciting to be able to go with that. And then it's also, the reason why I call my film Gnosis is because I've just realized the role that working with these plants has in bringing forth Gnosis, right? It's and having that clarity from within and that knowledge from within and be able to read situations and feel and trust your feelings is very much what this path has kind of done. And so, I know like through with Juan, very much, I get basically downloads from him,
right,
through him that come into me, and that I now know what they are, and I have confidence to move forward with them it's quite a magical, interesting relationship. And now that he's been here twice, his spirit is always here, right? So
is that something that you guys have talked about and kind of agreed with, or did this just happen to you?
We've talked about it. We're good friends now. We've talked about it deeply, and he's basically, he chose me and my partner Andre as his primary students now to give his information to, right? So we've talked about this, and I've been through enough experiences going through this that, but at the beginning it was like this stuff was happening at the beginning, and I was definitely more confused about it and didn't know where to go. I remember 6 months when I was down there I was there for the second day, and I was like, you need to come out to Manitoba. And I invited him, and he was like, okay, I will. And I was like, oh, great. And then I left, and I remember he gave me a bunch of ayahuasca to bring up for when he would come, right?
Yeah.
And so I brought a bunch of ayahuasca back with me, and it was supposed to save it for this visit, but of course it's due time. I started doing it, right? And then feeling guilty about it at first, but then quickly realizing that's what he wanted, right? Was going to take it. And then I got an email from him around 6 months after, where he said, the maestro says, just be calm. The plants know what they want. They will arrange everything. Just be calm. Everything will be clear. And it was at that moment I was like, okay, it's the plants doing the thing, right? And I mean, increasingly I'm aware of that. I can see how people come to me. It's because I know the plants are calling them, right? And it's the ayahuasca is really doing the surgery on the population right now and the people and stuff like that. So, and then Juan is a true maestro, a true conductor. So,
very interesting.
It's quite fascinating to go deeper into this world and see how it all works.
Yes.
And,
yes. I just want to ask you, what language does Juan speak? English, Spanish?
He speaks Spanish. Doesn't speak English. He speaks Spanish, and he's Ashaninkan, which is actually his tribe. But he also speaks, I think like a dozen tribal languages from Shipibo, from around the Amazon. So his life story is quite interesting. I mean, he comes from a long line of ayahuasqueros and healers that go back hundreds of years, and he's spent his whole life traveling around Peru, learning from all the masters and everything, and he's had quite a journey to get to this point. So
yes. And what how does this work? Can anyone go down there and visit in case they want to? I mean, can people go onto the website and order a package, so to speak, to get down there, or how does it work? Tell us about that.
Yeah, anyone can go. I mean, I'm constantly meeting people through even my YouTube and stuff, and setting them down and connecting them, and anyone can go. And it's I think, I don't know exactly what their prices are right now. I think they're out now at it's $100 a day, and that includes everything: medicine, food, lodging, and everything. So, and I think they're increasingly trying to get people to come for like a 12-day stay rather than a few days. But anyone can go, and I try to recommend it to everybody.
Yes.
And and if you do make it there, then it's quite fascinating. So, because it's.
Tell us a little bit more about what one could expect when they get down there. And I mean, I guess right away, I mean, this isn't for any kind of recreational purpose, right? This is more for healing, both on spiritual and physical level, right?
Yeah, I would recommend that. I mean, it's you might go there with recreational ideas, and your spirit guided you there for healing. So but it's very much to go there for healing or for whatever kind of answers, spiritual answers you're searching. But everyone should recognize that we all have healing to do, and we always will have healing to do. So, and it's also increasingly Juan, for myself too, I try to bring people into the ayahuasca that are really open-minded scientists or people like that could really benefit from that kind of consciousness expansion and connection to the plant. So people like that go down there, doctors or scientists that might be interested in what the plants can offer for them. But you go there and it's in the jungle. There's no electricity, running water, but they have nice little huts that you can stay in, and ayahuasca is just one of the plants. There's a good chance one will just prescribe you other plants. Like there's one plant that we took there called Wonkaway that it's highly recommended to take, because you take it and you drink a little bit of it, and then you go up into your hut and you basically purge and you puke every 10 minutes for like 6 hours.
Oof.
Yes, it's and it worked. You can feel it work down your intestines and everything, but that's one of the ways they do purging down there, right? So
yes,
it really cleanses your system, and if you do that, then you go into your ayahuasca and you'll get more out of it. Because it's interesting, if you read about ayahuasca, everywhere else it's a purgative, but with Juan, you rarely purge on his ayahuasca. It's he explains he has a different use for it and a different balance.
Mm-hmm.
So it's nice to get the purge out with the other plants, and it's also part of the healing is just being in that space, right, and around those plants, and they totally recycle your energy and heal you. And I think the hardest thing for people down there is to do nothing,
right,
just to be calm.
Yes, yes.
Do nothing. Oh no.
Yeah, exactly. Where's the cell phone and laptop, right?
Oh, exactly. So I think there's a process of that, and then he does ceremonies down there every 2 nights. So you can do ayahuasca, every couple nights if you want, and recover the next day. And
tell us, for those who never tried ayahuasca, and that would include myself, tell us a little bit about the experience and what I guess it would be very different depending on your background, what you've been through, what kind of, as you say, spiritual journey you're on and so forth. But is there any kind of general thing that you would be able to say that actually happens to you when you take it?
Well, and I'm only speaking from my experience with Juan, because it's the only ayahuasca I've tried and worked with, and it will be the only one that I will, and I'll stick with that. But it's like you said, it's different for every person. Every time it's different, right? But it's very much like there can be a heavy visual element to it, but it's more about the psychological element. The visions are quite beautiful, and they can teach you a lot and stuff like that. But it's more important the thoughts that come through your head, and where those thoughts lead you, and the clarity that you can develop on your life and stuff. And it's very much also about facing repressed fears, repressed emotions that are creating blockages within you, and you kind of work them through. And often you might work through something, some tragedy, and then I was with one man that he was basically going through every tragedy for the last 30 years backwards, and after he talked about it, he then puked. Right, so a physical manifestation of that emotional wound.
Getting it out, right?
Yeah, and it was amazing. Like we were, a couple of them were holding him. I had a friend with a bucket, and he was going 1972. It was like, whoa. But it was, this guy changed his life. He actually went down. That was when Juan was here, and then a year later he went down with his wife and 2 kids to Mayantiaku to see Juan. They just got back a couple weeks ago.
Mm-hmm, really?
So he was like definitely